Hello, and welcome to the Pick Six, the podcast by the Attractions Group, where we bring you the latest stories from the attraction and amusement industry. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig.
Well, before we dive into this week's Pick Six, a quick reminder for our listeners. You can catch the Attractions Group podcast on your favorite platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and Google. And be sure to subscribe. And don't forget to like and share our content on YouTube with fellow enthusiasts. So, Ryan, let's get us started with the Pick Six.
Let's get started. So, story number one, the annual Knott's Merry Farm holiday celebration kicks off on November 22nd and runs through January 5th. This year, Knott's Berry Farm will introduce a new tree lighting ceremony and bring back several fan favorite shows. In Calico Park, Snoopy will join singers and dancers for the new 'Tis the Season tree lighting ceremony. The beloved Beagle also returns in the Snoopy's Night Before Christmas Ice Show at the Walter Knott Theater. You know, if you love them for Knott's Scary Farm, Knott's Merry Farm is also quite revered.
It is. I mean, you're right. Everybody talks about Scary Farm, but this event is right up there with that. And one of the best holiday events that you're going to find out there in the industry.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wonder if the other properties will also get a new tree lighting ceremony, because it does seem like, at least at Kings Island, it seems like when they changed the tree lighting ceremony, it was very unceremonious. As in, you showed up, they did a new one. You're like, oh, that's different. You know?
Yeah, but right. I that's where, like I said, if you get a chance, you live out in that Southern California area, make sure that you go to Knott's and experience their holiday event. Moving on, Hersheypark is gearing up for the holidays with its Christmas candy lane and Hershey's Sweet Lights starting November 15th. This year, the attractions include new custom Hershey-themed light displays, a festive photo spot with Santa's reindeer, and the debut of Treeville Trail, featuring beautifully decorated Christmas trees. And Ryan, I had a chance to experience this event last year. It's fantastic. The lights look spectacular. The food, the treats, I mean, it's just off the charts good. And, I'm hoping to be able to get back there to experience that this year.
Yeah, totally. The cool part is, for those of you who are ride enthusiasts, Hersheypark, not all the rides are open, but I would say the majority of rides are open. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, the majority are open. Lots of flat rides. You got Wildcats Revenge is open. Candemonium is open. So it's if you like rides, you're going to be able to do that. But it's just the lights, and the food, just that festive atmosphere. It's really, really well done there.
Perfect. Well, heading down south to New Orleans, the long abandoned Six Flags theme park in New Orleans, closed since Hurricane Katrina, is finally being demolished. According to the Times, Picayune New Orleans Advocate, that's a difficult newspaper name to say, work is underway at the site, which became an enduring symbol of the 2005 disastrous destruction. Originally opened as Jazzland theme park in 2000, the park declared bankruptcy after 2 seasons. Six Flags later took over, but never reopened following the storm, and the property remained derelict. Control eventually transferred to the city's Industrial Development Board and then to the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority, NORA, which now owns the site. Is there any indication of what it's going to be?
I haven't heard what it's going to be. And even though it's been closed for a number of years now, I mean, this still brings a lot of sadness to theme park fans, especially those that visited this park. It's the closure, but it's still very sad to see.
I wonder, Jazzland didn't work out. Obviously, Six Flags New Orleans didn't work out. But I wonder if that area could support a theme park. That's a food for thought, Next up.
All right. The National Roller Coaster Museum and Archives is adding a touch of Disney magic to its collection. Disney Parks has donated an Aero development ride vehicle from Snow White Scary Adventure and a Mystic Rides bumper car from Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters at the former Disney Quest. Snow White's Scary Adventure was retired in 2012 during Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland expansion, while Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters closed in 2017 The museum, which is located in West Texas, continues to rely on support from industry suppliers and fans. Donations, they can be made at rollercoastermuseum.org or sent to P.O. Box 5424, Arlington, Texas 76005. But these are some great ads to that museum.
Yeah, it's cool that Disney's participating, because Disney is always a bit of an outlier when it comes to, the things that the rest of the industry does, as far as IAPA and even up to this point the museum. But so it's really cool that they're getting involved. Next up. All right, SeaWorld Orlando is rolling out Coasters After Dark Christmas Edition, a new separately ticketed event offering after-hours access to the park's attractions. Launching November 8th and running select nights through December 13th, the event promises shorter lines, illuminated holiday displays, free popcorn at various spots. Guests can enjoy 7 signature rides, including Mako, Manta, Kraken, Pipeline, Journey to Atlantis, Penguin Trek, and Icebreaker. Holiday-themed shopping, food, drinks are also available, with tickets starting at just $49.99 at SeaWorldOrlando.com. Now, this is tempting to me if I do make it down. We're talking about like maybe first week of December or so, because I have not ridden Penguin Trek yet. All the other stuff I got to check off, but not that one yet.
It sounds like a great event. Especially if you're a roller coaster fan, you get to do this with minimal wait times. It's, kind of taking the page a little bit. We've done those different events that you see at Universal, where the Orlando Informer has done those kind of events where you get that minimal wait time. So this is something to definitely check out. If you're going to be down there, Ryan, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Next up,
well, Dollywood continues to set the bar high, even surpassing Disney and Universal in customer service accolades. Newsweek has ranked Dollywood Parks and Resorts as the #1 theme park in the United States for customer service. The independent survey of over 28,000 U.S. customers awarded Dollywood an impressive score of 93.22 out of 100, placing it not only at the top of the theme park category, but also at number 26 out of 700 brands across various industries. So, if you've been to Dollywood, the customer service, it's outstanding. So, congratulations to Dollywood on another accolade.
Yeah, the cool thing about Dollywood, and if you look back at various episodes that we've had, and it's been several with people from Dollywood and from Hersheypark and their various properties, they speak in a manner in which you can believe that they want you to have a good time, and you believe that they make money doing that, rather than they want you to show up and pay them money and hopefully have a good time.
It's all genuine, it's authentic. You feel, like you said, you feel welcome when you go there, that they really appreciate your visit. And again, just congratulations to Dollywood. They just keep racking up these awards.
Yep. They're going to have to expand. Maybe part of the Dolly Parton experience is they'll have a trophy case for all the awards that Dollywood wins, between Golden Tickets and USA Today Top 10 and so on.
It's almost going to be news when they don't win something like this, right?
It might be the end of the world as we know it, Don. All right. Let's move on to the listener questions. First one is from Monica V. from Roanoke, Virginia. Which Virginia park has the best holiday event, Busch Gardens or King's Dominion? That's more of a question for you, because I have actually not been to Winterfest at Busch Gardens.
You're talking about the overall
Winterfest at King's Dominion. Yeah.
If you're talking about the overall experience, I'd have to go with Busch Gardens. I think better shows, more lights. They tout over 10 million lights there. The food, everybody knows how good the food is. Busch Gardens, during the spring and the summer months, the fall months. I mean, it just continues into the holiday season. So, you're not going to go wrong visiting either one. I mean, they're both really, good high level events. But if you had to pick one or the other, you can only do one. I'm taking Busch Gardens.
Well, and again, we talk about, for those of you who are ride enthusiasts, Busch Gardens has all of their rides open, while King's Dominion has a few rides open. I don't to clarify before you tear me up in the comments, that's not that terribly important to me, but I know it is to a lot of people.
Yeah, just the atmosphere, though. Busch Gardens always ranked, no matter what the poll is, or publication, whenever they do like the most beautiful parks and everything, Busch Gardens is always right up there, and with good reason. and as spectacular as it looks during the summer months, I mean, it's breathtaking during the holiday season.
Yeah. Next listener question, Pierre M. from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. With the new Six Flags, do you think they'll look to get out of their lease with La Ronde?
That's a great question. I would think that as they're looking to, do some restructuring in that, kind of with the portfolio, they're talking about, doing some different things with that. They're going to trim some parks for sure, trying to move some. We already know that they're doing a number of budget cuts. A lot of like manager level positions are being eliminated, and that I would think wherever they can look to cut costs, they would do it. And because this is a lease situation, it would not surprise me if they looked to end that lease at some point in the foreseeable future.
Well, I wish I knew more about the situation so I could give a better answer, because it seems like there would be pros and cons to the leaseback thing. Because on one hand, there might be a tax advantage to the fact that they don't own,
Right.
300 or whatever acres in Ontario. I'm sorry, it would be in Quebec, not Ontario. I'm thinking
Quebec,
of the other
Quebec
Canadian
City,
part.
yeah, big difference. Hey, don't confuse Ontario and Quebec.
No, they're practically different countries. But the thing that kind of makes me think it would stick around, or there's two things. First of all, if they're selling off a leasing agreement, that's not a whole lot of money. And if they're worried about cash flows rather than if this park is like losing money, that may not be worth their time and they may not be worth their effort. The other thing is, I remember when Cedar Fair bought the Six Flags parks, the general rumble from the board of directors was, we'll get rid of Canada's Wonderland because we don't want to deal with an international park. They didn't do that. They saw what a cash cow it was. I don't think that La Ronde is the cash cow that Canada's Wonderland is.
Yeah, it is not.
But they do have Canadian operations now. So that's a synergy where they can save some money. So I would say I would be cautious about it moving forward, but I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk. Like, that's definitely one they're going to dump.
Yeah, it just wouldn't surprise me if they did that. I mean, it's, you look where all the different properties are. You're talking about, it is in Canada. It is in Quebec. It's just something that, especially as they're looking to do things, where season pass becomes such a big deal and they're trying to sell the all park passport and all that. That park's a little out of the way. It's not something where you're going to see a lot of the people with the all park passport, making a trek to that park. They might go to Canada's Wonderland, especially if they live like, in the New York area, Buffalo, Detroit, the Cleveland area, you're going to get the visits to Canada's Wonderland and that. But, that's just kind of off the, you just don't think about that park that much. So to me, I would think that would be one that it wouldn't surprise me. Now, we're not saying here that's going to happen, and just that it wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, I like I said, I wish I knew more about that situation, because I honestly think that if they make a meaningful amount of money from that park, it's safe. Because again, you're selling off hardware but not land. Look at Great America. They sold off the land, which was all the equity that was in the park. They got hundreds of millions of dollars for that. But had they sold it as a park, it probably wouldn't have been worth nearly as much. So what do you think is going to happen when they're selling a property where they don't own the land?
It's been a long time since I've been there. Late 80s, 87, 88, I think, is when I was there. It was almost like a check the box, kind of a thing that I could say I visited that park. Wasn't something that I felt I had to, get back. It was nice. You could definitely tell you were in a different country in that. It was nice. They had some nice rides, but it wasn't something that I was gonna, every 3 or 4 years try to make it back there. Canada's Wonderland, on the other hand, it was, a place that I felt, I definitely wanted to get back to. But, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's just kind of one of those out of sight, out of mind parks for me. It always has been.
Yeah, and what keeps on coming to mind, because the very little bit that I do know about La Ronde is that the Coaster Studios people went there and they did not have a good experience. And in their defense, I think that from what they said in the video that nobody would have had a good experience. But a lot of the stuff that they mentioned was vintage Six Flags. The line was an hour long, but they were running one train. There's only 2 food stands open, stuff like that. We're already seeing this evolution at the legacy Six Flags parks, that they're becoming more like the Cedar Fair parks. And through all Cedar Fair's faults, it's not Six Flags. You know,
no, they were always good operators. That's the thing about, you know, Cedar Fair was, even when, you know, that Paramount purchase went through, when they acquired those parks, that I thought operation wise that it was going to be better. As good as Kings Island was, you know, operationally, I knew that it was even going to be better, because that's what the Cedar Fair parks were known for, was operations. And now they're getting, you know, to be known, you know, they're making big strides in the culinary experience in that. So they're getting there with that. So that's a good thing, you know, for a park like this, that, you know, if it's part of the plan for the future, and that you might not see that one train operation all the time. You know, they're going to want to improve the guest experience. That is important, you know, to the new Six Flags. It was important to the legacy Cedar Fair parks, was, you know, the guest experience, you know, and trying to run rides at, you know, as full capacity as you could. So I think that part of it would be a positive to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, I really think that it's quite possible that Six Flags, out of desperation, ran the park down, in terms of they have to dilly out the money, the little bit of money that they had for operating expenses, to your New Jerseys and your Californias and stuff like that. So parks like Luron got lost in the mix. Well, you know, the new Six Flags is not necessarily a gold mine. It definitely has a different mentality going in. And I think that they believe that if you improve the experience, the money will roll in. So what I would think they would do is give it 2 or 3 years of running it on all cylinders, maybe even adding to the park in some regards. And when they do that, they'll see how it turns out. And if it remains flat, or if it goes down or whatever, then, you know, then they could have a conversation about ending because what could possibly happen, if they can't find a buyer, they can always just abandon the lease. Take all.
Yeah, I would think there'd be other parks as part of that portfolio that would be ahead of that one, you know, to either sell or cut ties with the lease and that. So I don't think it would be like at the top of the list.
I don't think so either. And if it wasn't in Canada, it probably would be at the top of the list. I think that the Canadian thing really, really hurts them, because American operators may not want to go with Canada, and they may have to sell it at a discount because it's an international park. Because that is a whole other business unit you got to have. Now Six Flags has that. Six Flags and Six Flags / Cedar Fair, they have that. So we'll see what happens. But that's a great question. That was a good thought experiment. Yeah, we'll see you next week with more Pick Six, and make sure you follow us on X at attractions_GRP. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. But there's also an audio version on your favorite podcast apps. And if you're listening on all your favorite podcast apps, we're available on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week, everyone.